AITA for kicking out my fiancée and best friend after their small mistake. Let me be crystal clear. This isn't some sob story looking for internet sympathy. I'm the guy who clawed his way up from absolutely nothing, and I need you to understand exactly how much work went into building my life before it got wrecked by two pieces of trash. Growing up, we were the definition of living paycheck to paycheck. My mom worked as a waitress, pulling double shifts just to put food on the table. My dad was a construction worker until a back injury turned him into a part-time disability recipient and a full-time bitter guy. They weren't perfect, but they taught me one core truth. Nothing, and I mean nothing, is free. From day one, I knew if I wanted anything in life, I was going to have to fight for every single inch. College? Not happening on my parents' dime. A healthcare career? I'd have to earn it myself. So, I started at the bottom, an orderly at the local hospital, working shifts that would make most people quit within a week. Picture it, 16-hour night shifts, changing bedpans, cleaning up bodily fluids, dealing with patients at their absolute worst, while my high school peers were partying and planning college road trips. I was learning how to draw blood, change for bags, and keep people alive on minimal sleep and maximum coffee. Community college was my lifeline. I'd finish a brutal hospital shift, shower in the locker room, and head straight to class. My classmates thought I was insane. Why not just take out student loans? They'd ask. But I remembered watching my parents drown in debt, and I was determined to do it differently. Every single credit was paid for with hospital shifts, weekend security gigs, and whatever odd jobs I could scrape together. Nursing school was a special kind of hell. While others complained about study groups and test anxiety, I was working full-time and cramming during every break I could find. Studying during lunch, reviewing notes between patient rounds, spending my rare days off buried in medical textbooks. When I finally got my nursing license, it felt like winning the damn Olympics. My mom cried, that ugly, real kind of crying. My dad, a man who never showed emotion, hugged me so tight I thought he'd crack my ribs. I specialized in ICU nursing, the most high-stress environment imaginable, where every second counts and one mistake can mean the difference between life and death. My apartment reflected my journey. Nothing fancy, but everything purposeful, located close enough to the hospital that I could be there in 10 minutes if an emergency call came in. Every piece of furniture was strategically chosen, stuff I could fix, things with a story. The armchair? I reupholstered it myself. The dining table? Rebuilt it with my dad. Every object was a testament to effort and survival. Then Jake came along. We met in college during those hellish study sessions where survival was more important than excelling. He wasn't just a study buddy. He became my support system. When his tech startup failed 2 years ago, I didn't hesitate. You need a place to crash, I told him. You've got a home here. I covered his rent, paid for groceries, helped him with job applications. I used my nursing salary to support both of us, believing that's what real friendship meant. Jake was more than a roommate. He was family. Or so I thought. Then there was Sarah. Our story started like a dark comedy. She came into the ER with a spectacular sprain, wearing 5-inch heels that looked like they cost more than my entire month's rent. Most patients would be stressed, but not Sarah. She was cracking jokes about her elegant swan dive, making the entire ER staff laugh. I was on triage that night, exhausted from a double shift, and she dropped a one-liner that made me genuinely laugh out loud. Something about how her disastrous, yet designer, attempt at a glamorous night out had been foiled by gravity. When I discharged her, I did something I'd never done. I asked her out for coffee. Our relationship felt perfect. Sarah was everything I wasn't. Polished, connected, from a wealthy family. Initially, she seemed to find my work ethic attractive. I thought we balanced each other perfectly. I was all grit and logic. She was spontaneity and style. But I had no idea the cracks were already there. The red flags were waving like giant banners. But love, or what I thought was love, is blind. You know the saying, hindsight is 20/20ths. Looking back, the signs were so obvious they might as well have been neon signs screaming, danger ahead. Let's start with red flag number 1, my work schedule. I'm an ICU nurse, which means insane shifts, 12-hour nights, sometimes 16-hour doubles when we're short-staffed. Any understanding partner would get that I'm literally saving lives. Not Sarah. Why don't you just get a normal job? She'd complain during our weekend brunches. Always at some trendy cafe where a single latte cost more than my hourly wage. Dad can get you a position at his company. Something cleaner, more respectable. Respectable? As if holding someone's hand while they're coding, performing CPR, or watching life hang by a thread wasn't respectable. I'd tell her, beaming with pride, about a patient we'd pulled through that week, and she'd look at me like I was speaking another language. Her world was spreadsheets and soulless corporate networking. Mine was literally life and death. Jake didn't help. Instead of backing me up, he always seemed to side with Sarah. Maybe she has a point, he'd say when we were alone. You could make more in corporate, less stress. This, coming from the guy I'd supported for 2 years when his startup went down the drain, who was living rent-free in my apartment. The engagement ring was another massive red flag. I saved for 6 months to buy what I thought was beautiful. A simple 1-carat diamond that represented every extra shift, every sacrificed weekend, every moment of hard work. When I proposed, Sarah's smile felt rehearsed. Weeks later, I overheard her telling her friend Brittany she was going to fix it after the wedding, upgrading it to something more appropriate for a Watson woman. Ah, the Watsons. They were a piece of work. Her father, a mid-level executive who thought he walked on water. Her mother, who looked at me like I was something she'd accidentally stepped in. Family dinners were a special kind of hell. They'd talk about country club memberships and investment portfolios, while I sat there in my slightly wrinkled scrubs, still mentally processing the trauma from my last shift. Sarah's attempts to improve me became more frequent. Buying me clothes, always a size too small, always designer labels that cost more than my monthly rent. Just something to help you fit in, she'd say. Translation, you're not good enough as you are. My apartment was another constant point of contention. We can't live here forever, she'd complain, looking around our modest but clean space. Dad has a rental property in a much nicer area. We should move there. It was never could we, always we should, with the subtext that my current life wasn't sufficient. Jake continued to be the ultimate enabler. When I'd express frustration about Sarah's comments, he'd offer some thinly veiled statement of support. She just wants what's best for you, he'd say. She sees potential in you that you don't see in yourself. Looking back, that should have been my first clue. Real friends, real partners, don't try to change you. They support you. They see your value as you are. The financial dynamic was another huge red flag. Sarah came from money and never let me forget it. Dinners always ended with her generously offering to pay, but making sure everyone around us knew how much the bill was. Subtle, not so humble brags. I wasn't naive. I knew relationships take work. My parents had shown me that, two working-class people sticking together through every imaginable challenge. But this felt different. It felt like I was constantly being sized up, constantly found lacking. My colleagues saw it before I did. Nurses are observant. We have to be. They'd exchange glances when Sarah called during my shift, demanding to know why I couldn't just leave early. They heard her complaints about my schedule, about my dedication to my patients. But I was committed. I loved Sarah, or at least, I loved the version of her I'd built up in my mind. The version I thought understood me, supported me, loved me for who I was. The universe was sending me signals, massive flares I couldn't ignore, but I was too busy trying to make it work, too invested in the fairy tale to see what was happening right in front of my face. And then everything changed. One random Tuesday would expose it all. The lies, the betrayal, the complete shattering of everything I thought I knew. Let me set the scene. Tuesday, post-night shift. I'm running on 3 hours of sleep, tons of coffee, and the sheer adrenaline that comes from managing 3 code blues during my last shift. I should be dead to the world. Normally, I'd be asleep until 4 p.m., recovering from a brutal 16-hour ICU shift where I'd literally kept people alive through sheer force of will. But fate, or whatever cosmic force was at play, had other plans. I woke up around 1 p.m. with a migraine that felt like someone was using a jackhammer inside my skull. The hospital had been a war zone, short-staffed, high-stress, multiple critical patients. I'd been running room to room, managing emergencies, doing the kind of work most people can't even fathom. My apartment was supposed to be my sanctuary, my safe space, the one place I could decompress, where I knew everything was exactly as I left it. As I approached the door, something felt off. Music was playing softly, not my usual playlist, not Jake's usual heavy metal or indie rock. Something different. Then I heard Sarah's laugh, that specific laugh she used when she was flirting, the one I used to find charming. Then I heard Jake's voice. Babe, he won't be home for hours. Babe? The world stopped. I stood there with my work bag feeling like it weighed 1,000 pounds, my hand on the doorknob, my brain trying to process what I was hearing. When I pushed the door open, it was like watching a bad movie, one of those scenes where everything moves in slow motion. Sarah, my fiancée, was on top of Jake, my roommate, the guy I'd supported for 2 years, the one living rent-free in my apartment, the one I helped get job leads, the one I considered my brother. They were on the couch, the same couch I'd helped him carry up 3 flights of stairs when the elevator was broken. They scrambled apart faster than I'd ever seen a patient move when a code was called. Sarah's designer blouse was misbuttoned. Jake looked like a deer caught in headlights. And then the performance started. Honey, this isn't what it looks like, Sarah began, as if I hadn't just seen her basically having relations with my best friend. I laughed. It wasn't a happy laugh. It was the kind born from pure, unfiltered disbelief. What, Sarah? I said. Were you practicing CPR? Because I'm pretty sure that's not how we do chest compressions at the hospital. That's when Sarah's true colors flared. The tears vanished instantly. The victim act was over. Well, if you weren't always working those horrible shifts, maybe I wouldn't be so lonely, she screamed. Jake understands me. He knows how to treat a Watson woman. I wish I were making that up. A Watson woman. That was her justification for cheating, for betraying everything we'd built. Jake, to his minimal credit, looked slightly ashamed, but only slightly. 3 months, he mumbled. We've been seeing each other for 3 months. 3 damn months. The same 3 months I'd been picking up extra shifts to save for our wedding. The same 3 months I'd been helping him get back on his feet professionally. The same 3 months I'd essentially been supporting both of them. Sarah then played her final card, the one she always played when things didn't go her way. Alex, baby, can we just get past this? Dad can get you a better job. We can move into a real house. I made a tiny mistake. A tiny mistake? That's how she described a 3-month affair with my best friend. I did something I never thought I'd do. I threw her spare key across the room, so hard it left a dent in the wall. Precision honed from years of medical training, I guess. Get out, I said. Both of you. Out. Now. Jake tried to say something. I cut him off. You've got 30 days to move out, I told him. It's the law. But I don't want to see your face until then. The next few hours were a blur. Sarah crying, Jake stammering apologies, phone calls, texts, the whole world seeming to explode around me. But I was calm, strangely calm. The same calm I get in the ICU when a patient codes and everyone else is panicking. This was just another emergency, and I knew exactly how to handle it. If you think catching your fiancé cheating is dramatic, buckle up. The aftermath was a masterclass in narcissism and entitlement that would make reality TV look tame. Let's start with Sarah's first move. The day after I caught them, she showed up at my work with a PowerPoint presentation. Yes, you read that right. A 25-slide presentation titled, Why Our Relationship Deserves Another Chance. Slide 1 was literally about the financial synergy of our union, complete with projected income charts showing how her family connections could elevate my career, as if being an ICU nurse wasn't enough. The kicker, she brought hard copies and tried to hand them out to my colleagues in the hospital lobby. Security had to escort her out. Twice. Jake's approach was no less delusional. He started sending long, rambling emails claiming he was actually the victim here. Apparently, Sarah had manipulated him, and I needed to be understanding. This from the guy I supported for 2 years, the guy living rent-free while I covered his expenses. But here's where it got really wild. Sarah's entire social circle decided I was the villain. Her friends launched an all-out social media war. They started group chats, sent mass texts, basically trying to paint me as the bad guy throwing away true love over a minor mistake. Minor mistake? A 3-month affair? Right. Her mother called my parents, not to apologize, but to lecture them on how I was ruining a perfectly good match. She actually suggested I should be grateful for the chance to marry into the Watson family, like cheating was some kind of badge of honor. The Watsons tried every manipulation tactic in the book. Her father, the mid-level executive with more ego than sense, threatened to call his golf buddy in hospital administration. We can make your professional life difficult, were his exact words. Jake's sister took a different approach. She started calling me constantly, trying to convince me to be reasonable. She claimed Jake was going through a tough time, and I was being too harsh, giving him only 30 days to move out. But the real circus was just beginning. Sarah escalated things. She started showing up everywhere, and I mean everywhere, at the hospital, outside my apartment. She brought expensive gifts. One time, she showed up with a $5,000 watch, claiming it was to make up for her mistake. When I refused it, she tried to stuff it in my bag when I wasn't looking. Her friends became her flying monkeys. They'd accidentally bump into me, trying to pump me for information. They'd send me long texts about how perfect our relationship was, how we should try again. One even tried to convince me Jake had seduced Sarah and she was the real victim. Then came the legal threats. Sarah's family lawyers sent me a formal letter demanding I return her personal belongings, which turned out to be mostly designer clothes she'd left at my place. When I refused, they threatened to take me to small claims court. Jake's damage control attempt was just as pathetic. He started sending long, rambling emails claiming he was actually the victim in all this. He said Sarah had pursued him and I needed to understand. He even suggested we could still be friends if I was mature enough about it. The final straw was when Sarah's mother showed up at my parents' house. She tried to convince my mom that I was destroying family ties and being irrational. My mom, usually mild-mannered, told her exactly where she could go. Sarah's last-ditch effort was a certified letter detailing how we could fix things. It included a relationship rehabilitation plan that looked like something out of a corporate restructuring document, terms, clauses, and a full breakdown of how I could earn back her trust. I didn't even open it. Straight into the trash. The most brazen moment, Sarah and Jake showed up at a mutual friend's party, acting like they were the victims. They spun a tale about how I'd abandoned them, and they'd merely found solace in each other during a difficult time. 6 months after the biggest betrayal of my life, the first hints of karmic justice started appearing. And let me tell you, it was more satisfying than I ever imagined. Let's start with Jake. Remember that job recommendation I gave him? The one he conveniently forgot about? Turns out, it was with the CEO of a major tech company, a patient I helped pull through an incredibly complex recovery. When the full story got back to him, things got interesting. The CEO knew every detail about my role in his survival, especially during a critical moment in the ICU. I was the one who noticed a critical change in his condition, one most nurses might have missed. He'd been trying to track me down personally to thank me, and instead, he heard the whole story of Jake's betrayal. Jake's professional world started to slowly unravel. First, subtle signs, unanswered networking emails, promising job interviews that suddenly went cold. Then came the real blow. His new startup pitch, the one he'd been working on for months, got absolutely shot down during a key investor meeting. Turns out, word travels fast in tech circles. His reputation for being untrustworthy spread like wildfire. The very connections he'd spent years cultivating just vanished. But Jake wasn't the type to go down quietly. He started making desperate moves, showing up at gatherings with mutual friends, trying to spin a narrative where he was the victim. Alex never understood our connection, he'd say. Sarah and I were meant to be. Most of our friends saw right through his BS immediately. Sarah's path wasn't much better. She'd been having an affair with her father's young business partner, the same one who was supposed to help expand the family business. But she was playing a dangerous game, thinking she was untouchable. Her father was the old-school corporate type, the kind who values reputation above all else, and Sarah was about to learn that lesson the hard way. The first cracks appeared during a major family business event. The whispers started small, side conversations, innuendo about her inappropriate behavior. Her father wasn't just angry, he was building a nuclear bomb. Meanwhile, I was focusing on my own life. I pursued additional certifications at the hospital, specialized critical care training that would position me for advanced nursing roles. Every extra shift, every new qualification, felt like my middle finger to the whole situation. My colleagues became my real family. They knew the whole story and had my back completely. When Sarah tried showing up at the hospital to stir up drama, they shut it down like the pros they are. The universe was setting up its ultimate revenge plot. And trust me, it was epic. Sarah's downfall was so picture-perfect, it felt scripted. Her affair with her father's business partner wasn't just a minor indiscretion. It was a strategic disaster for the family business. Picture this, a huge family gathering at an expensive country club, all her father's business associates present, crisply ironed suits, champagne flowing. And right in the middle of dinner, her father stands up and publicly disowns her. He didn't just quietly cut her off. He announced the sordid details of her betrayals, the affair with Jake, the relationship with the business partner, her utter lack of integrity, in front of every important person in their social circle. Her mother, who had been so quick to attack me, was utterly speechless. The carefully crafted social image they'd built was obliterated in one painful moment. And Jake's situation, in parallel, was imploding. The HR manager at his newest job turned out to be another woman Jake had tried his same deceptive routine on. When it all came out, he faced not only immediate termination but potential legal action for workplace misconduct. His professional network, built over years, disintegrated faster than ice in a desert. Every potential lead dried up. Every professional relationship he'd cultivated collapsed like a house of cards. The tech community is small, and word travels fast. In contrast, my life took a completely different direction. I met Elena, another nurse who understood the concept of partnership in its purest form. No games, no manipulation, just genuine respect and real connection. We didn't just date. We built something authentic, something real. 2 years after my world fell apart, we got married. Jake and Sarah became nothing more than an anecdote, a story we occasionally told with a chuckle at family gatherings. The final twist of karma came during a major medical conference. Sarah's father, desperate to repair his company's reputation, tried to network, only to find that in those circles, integrity matters more than connections. His business began to crumble. The very social network he tried to leverage against me became his ultimate downfall. Jake sent one last, pathetic email trying to make amends. My new assistant deleted it before I even saw it. Elena and I bought a house, started planning a family, built a life based on mutual respect, hard work, and genuine love. And Sarah? Last I heard, she's working a low-level retail job, living in a tiny studio apartment, completely cut off from her family's wealth and connections. Jake is still struggling to find stable work in a field he once thought he'd dominate. The universe doesn't just serve justice. Sometimes, it delivers a masterpiece of poetic retribution. If you liked it, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.